Hi there, what is, and welcome to this live stream in which we will talk about Uruguay's absolutely huge game against Bolivia. Away in La Paz, an historically tough ground, and Uruguay needed a result, preferably a win, but points is what we need absolutely, because Uruguay are sixth in the table after losing three consecutive games. The people are being here. Alejandro Ceballos is here as well, and he has a comment waiting for the end near. Well, I can understand your feeling, and I have I have feelings like this well because it's not going the way we want it. But anyways, there's a game which is going to be played in under 2 hours, and I'm looking forward to the game. Although we have not been playing well, although the situation is not great, it's a game which excites me purely because it's in such a unique place in world football. So in La Paz at the height of in Bolivia is always a special game, and it's not always a good game for Uruguay because Uruguay have only won there one time, and it was the last game. It was 2-0 in 2015. Um, so I'm looking forward to see how this team is going to play. It's a team with some youth and also some old timers, as we all know. But the decision has been made, and probably you are all aware of it, is that Luis Suarez will play from the bench. Augusto Alvarez Martinez, the young boy, young striker from Peñarol, he will play with Facundo Torres as well, another youngster from Peñarol. And then in the midfield, there will be Rodrigo Bentancur, Matias Vecino, Lucas Torreira, and Naid Hernandez. We are not really sure yet or I'm not sure yet at least, how they're going to line up. It could be similar to against Argentina with Torreira as the holding midfielder, then Bentancur and Vecino ahead of him, and then two wingers or wide midfielders like Naid Hernandez and Facundo Torres in this occasion, and then one striker up top. Defense is unchanged. It's Cáceres, Jimenez, Godin, and Piqueres, and the goalkeeper as well, obviously, is Muslera. Well, a lot of things we can comment on, we can criticize on. I've already done this in my match preview, which is also on YouTube. You can check it out, but I'm not going to do this here right now. I mean, there are players I rather would see on the bench, and players who are on the bench I rather would see play, but the decision has been made, so nothing we can change about this. So we will see how it goes, how this match is going to unfold, and yeah, let's hope for the best. That's all we want because um, it's not comfortable at the moment. Sixth place, like we know, Uruguay has 16 points, Chile has 16 points, and Colombia has 16 points, and then Ecuador on 20 points. Well, Brazil and Argentina, they're out of sight. Brazil already in the World Cup, already qualified. But we also have to remember Bolivia, although we do not see them as challengers for to become a World Cup team. They are only 4 points behind us, so they are on 12 points. I'm getting a notification here from YouTube that my connection is unstable. If you have this same experience and if you don't see or hear me right, then please say it. Hopefully, it's not the case. But let's move on. What I was trying to say, Bolivia has 4 points behind us, so that is not a lot, And they also have, I think, with this game, another two home games where they can pick up points and where they are really good. At home, they are great. This is the team that has conceded the most goals out of all teams in the World Cup qualifiers in South America, and that is true. But what is also true is that they also have hammered some teams at home. 4-0 against Paraguay, I believe, a few weeks ago, and also another few good results. I will look them up right now. So they know how it is to basically take the game to opponents in La Paz. So Paraguay 4-0, Peru 1-0, big win for them. Then they had a long period, so 8 games in the middle of the qualifying section, or also the start, where they picked up only 1 point. But before that, they beat Venezuela as well, 3-1. So they have picked the points that they have picked up there at home, and we know this. So they're always strong at home. I remember them beating Argentina 6-1 in 2009. They were the team that beat Brazil after 40 years of no defeats, basically, for Brazil in qualifying. So, yeah, we know it. In La Paz, crazy things can happen. And yeah, we will have to be we will have to be prepared for this. Danny F, good to see you here again, man. Uh, Probably a tie versus Bolivia is what you think, okay? Peru and Paraguay. Uh, okay, it's probably a tie versus Bolivia, Peru, and Paraguay, and beat Venezuela and lose to Chile. So this is you think this is going to be the case for the remaining five fixtures. So that will put us on. Let's have a look on 8 points. No, I can't count. 6 points, which puts our total on 22. And 22 points is well, it's not a lot. So hopefully this is not the case. He also said Damian Suarez should retire from international football. Yeah, well, I mean, if he's not getting a game at this moment, then I don't know when he's going to get a game. So it's really weird. And then Danny F as well says only hopeful thing is Chile and Ecuador will drop points. Um, you know what? Everybody's dropping points, and this is why it's all is open still. Even Peru or Bolivia could come in this fight again. So that's the thing. Everybody is losing points against everybody. So the thing is, the team that is managed that will be stable now, that will get consistent points in these remaining 5 games, they will qualify. Obviously, that's logical. But this is what we need. We need to have some consistency back because this is what has been missing for quite a few games now. And I still think we will qualify. I will. I still believe this, but we're not making it easy on ourselves. But that we all know this, yeah. And then Chile has to play Brazil, Argentina, Bolivia away. Yeah, that's true. So Chile, although they have had a good run now under Martin Lazarte, they will not qualify. I think. My opinion is that Ecuador will finish third, Uruguay or Colombia will finish fourth or fifth. So I think these three teams will follow Argentina and Brazil to Qatar. Um, I would have liked to see someone else there. Like I like to see Ecuador there because Ecuador were not there last time. They were in 2014. So I think Ecuador is also a good team, some good young players. So I like to see them there. But I always have a soft spot for Peru. I know they have knocked us out in the Copa in the last few years, but I always had a soft spot for Peru, just for the country it is, and yeah. But it looks like they World Cup after a really strong run in the last few games. So you never know, and that's the beauty. That's the beauty about these qualifiers. And you know what? It might be a struggle, it might be a painful sometimes, but if I watch to the European qualifiers like England against San Marino, or Poland against Gibraltar, or Italy against whatever team, and then I think, I mean, this is not football. So I prefer South American, not only because it's better football or more entertaining and more tight, more evenly matched. Um, it's also just it's like it does hurt sometimes in terms of your team losing and your team struggling and struggling to qualify. But at the end of the day, this is football. And football is not winning 10-0 away from home against a team that has maybe one professional footballer. So yeah, this is why South America is obviously the best in the world. And also a thing like with South America in the qualifiers is that, well, when you go away to Argentina and Brazil, you are gonna get a tough game because these are the best teams in South American football in the last few years. So that's logical. But besides these two big boys, when you go to Bolivia, for example, like we are today, or to Ecuador, you will have to struggle with the altitude. When you go to Colombia, you have to struggle with the heat. You know, these games that maybe on paper the teams that you face, they are not great teams like Bolivia, but you are always going against the odds because the conditions in which you play, these are so this is so in favor of the home opposition that it basically levels up the playing field. So your quality as a team might be bigger, but when you go to these places, the altitude will kill you, or the heat will kill you in Barranquilla. So this is what makes it so interesting and so fun to watch, even as a neutral when I'm watching games for Bolivia or Ecuador playing against other teams. And hopefully we will not struggle a lot with this today because obviously we need a result. Yeah. Um, so let me have a look. Prai says, I'm not sure if I pronounced this right, but any chances of Uruguay missing out on the 2022 World Cup? Hope Uruguay can make it. Right now, Uruguay is in a bad situation. So yeah, obviously there are chances. I mean, when you are out of the qualification spots with only 5 games to go, yeah, there's a chance that you don't make it. That's clear. I think we still will make it, like I said before. But the situation, like you say as well, is bad. It's not. But yeah, we will have to see the last 5 games, and it's gonna be tense. That's all. That's all. That's what we know. Danny F says, "Why is Tabres in love with Vecino?" Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. He keeps playing again. Today he's there again, like Caceres, he's there again. So we have to deal with it, I guess. Yeah. UEFA should do what CONCACAF uh, which is make the smaller teams, nations qualify for the final round of qualifiers. So the final round is the big nations and a couple of small nations. Yeah, I think this is a better format when you look at the UEFA format now, because like you say, in CONCACAF you have this final round, this hexagonal, I think it's called. This is better for them, and then you have probably 2 or 3 separate groups, but there are just quality groups. So now you have England, or like I say, Portugal, these teams that can stat pad basically. These strikers like Harry Kane, they have 15 goals in 8 games, or Lewandowski, and then I mean, just doesn't make sense. And people have these, and this is the way it works right now in Twitter and social media, is that people will compare everybody to everybody. So when you are talking about Lewandowski against Suarez or Messi against Ronaldo, then they get these statistics out, and then they talk about international statistics with Portugal, with Ronaldo, and they compare it to Messi with Argentina. And I always think to myself, when they do this, is like, you can't compare it, because it's like they talk about Bolivia and Peru being also teams that are not hard to face, but they're talking out of their arse, because these are hard teams. So what you have is statistics don't measure up to each other, because they're completely from different matches with different quality. So South America and Europe is just incomparable. Um, but yeah, but the counter argument they use, obviously, people that support or basically are trying to make the case for UEFA, is that the teams in Europe, or the countries in Europe, are the best teams in the last few World Cups, which is true. Obviously, it's true, but we are not talking about the quality of France, Portugal, Germany. We are all aware of these teams being fantastic footballing countries, so they will get results. But ask yourself this: if you put Germany or France in the World Cup qualifiers in South America, they will probably still qualify, obviously, but they will struggle a lot more, and that is just the truth. Um, Marmo Tank says, "No more pessimism. I've arrived." Yeah, I would try to keep it normal. No, I mean, pessimistic now, because in the match mode, in the game day mode. So although I have my reservations about this team and the manager, obviously, I just looking forward to the game and hoping for the best. Yeah. So yeah. Let me have a look on Twitter if something going on. Maybe the lineups is already confirmed. I will put up some statistics for everybody, anybody that's interested. Um, so in La Paz, in the Estadio Hernando Sias, which is the stadium we will play in today, Uruguay have won only one time. It was in 2015. You probably are aware. It's 2-0. Goals by Cáceres and Godin, who are incidentally playing today as well. Hopefully, they can bring back these days where they actually were fantastic players for Uruguay. That is the truth. They have been great servants. So yeah, before this, Uruguay did not manage to beat Bolivia at in La Paz once in 10 occasions. So yeah, well, the all-time record speaks in favor of Uruguay. 31 wins for Uruguay, 7 wins for Bolivia, and 7 draws. And this is basically all games. So in Bolivia, in Uruguay, or maybe somewhere else when there were Copa Americas playing in Peru or in Brazil. So it's in favor of Uruguay, obviously, because Uruguay are a much bigger footballing nation with a huge history as well. Another thing I wanted to talk about is Luis Suarez. He is set to begin on the bench, which is not something that you see often with him. He's been benched 8 times. in his career for Uruguay, and two of these times he has not come on, which was in the Copa of 2016. Maybe you remember, it was after he was injured for Barcelona, and he came to the Copa hoping that he could recover in time to play the final group match or maybe the knockout phases. But yeah, Uruguay basically, well, big failure, one of the many big failures in Copa in recent history, and he did not even get a minute, and he was an unused substitute for both games. Um, the other six times, Suarez started from the bench. He came on and he scored four goals in total. One of these was scored against France at the Estadio Centenario, which Uruguay won that game. I remember this goal, which is outside of the right boot, which is one of his characteristics, obviously. So yeah, it will be interesting to see that he starts from the bench, and I think it's an okay decision. I can agree with it because, well, at the altitude of in La Paz, physically he is nowhere near the player he was. So maybe it's better to use him as an impact substitution when he can bring some quality in 30 or 25 minutes. So I agree with this. The other thing I don't agree with, because there are a lot of things I don't agree with, but the thing you can draw a parallel between Suarez and Godin in terms of that they have regressed a lot physically. So my feeling would be that Godin, although he has played there before in La Paz, uh, that he should be benched as well and play someone like Arajo, younger, physically better, to play him. But this will not happen. We know this. Yeah. Okay, let me have some look at the comments. Good to see you here. Two people watching right now. It's I mean, if even if it's one, I'm glad. I'm glad to talk about Uruguay. So thank you for being here. Um, Let me have a look. I have to scroll back a little bit because quite a bit of comments. Okay. Imagine if CONCACAF and CONMEBOL merged in the future, and it's one table with 7 spots and two playoff spots. I mean, it's something interesting. Yeah, I agree. But to be honest, I would like to keep it like it is, because South American teams between each other is something special. But the thing is, we probably something like this will happen because there are already talks about the World Cup getting more teams. So there will be more qualification spots for CONMEBOL, for CONCACAF, for every footballing organization. Or so there will probably be this merging of different how do you say it, organizations, continental organizations. So yeah, possibly CONCACAF and CONMEBOL will have one qualifying program or qualifying tournament in the future. So yeah, something that we might have to get used to. um, Underdog says, "Are you okay with Suarez on the bench? In what time would you bring him on? He actually been playing pretty good for Uruguay in the last few games. Yeah, he has been playing very good. I think in the Copa he struggled a lot, and he wasn't good, and we all could see this. But in the last few games, although he scored only once, he has been playing really good. Just his overall play, and he's just missing this inch." In terms of his finishing, because he has been one of the best players for Uruguay in what has been a few bad games, to be honest. So I think I'm okay with him starting on the bench, like I said a few minutes ago, and he will come on for sure. And I think 60, 70 minutes is a good time to bring him on, and to see him make an impact. Danny F says, can't wait to see Godin running in altitude." Yeah, I mean, hopefully he will be all right. Hopefully he will manage because, yeah, we need the result. I mean, honestly, we can't pick up another defeat. This needs to be a turning point in my eyes. Um, Marmot Tank says, "I like the system they use for the playoffs, though." I think you're talking about CONCACAF, their system. I think it's okay as well. I think there's a lot more sense in the CONCACAF than the UEFA. But the round robin, as they call it, I think, which South American qualifiers have, I think it's the best, and it's the most fair because you play each other two times at home and away. It's the best way to measure it, and obviously it's 3 years long or 2.5 years long. So yeah, maybe in 2015 you have this player who was in that prime of their life, and then in 2017, 2018, he is off it. So that is just yeah, you have to have a little bit of luck with this. But I think it's the best and most fair qualifying tournament in the world. So yeah, okay. Let me have a sip of this. The World Cup is being played every 2 years. 2 years should prevent that. Plus, if CONCACAF joins, I only want the top four teams. I don't want to watch level teams. To be fair, so you're talking about the merging of the CONCACAF and the CONMEBOL. Yeah, you might be right. If it's like Arsene Wenger wants, which I don't really want, is World Cup every 2 years. We will probably see shorter qualifying processes, and then it will probably not be the same, but it will uh, still be CONMEBOL and South American teams playing against each other, and not CONCACAF and CONMEBOL merging. And I wouldn't want, like you said, I wouldn't want to play Panama, Haiti, teams like this. I have respect for every team in the world, but it's not competitive football anymore. So I would not like to see this as well. Um, so let me have a look. Uruguay should have gotten 3 points versus Paraguay. They robbed us, says Danny F. You know what? I agree with the fact that we should have had a win there. I think it was Jonathan Rodriguez with the goal, which was the goal, and that was called off for offside, which was non-existent. But I don't like this thing, and I also see it a lot in club football when teams talk about they are not they talk about they're missing out on something. They did not win the title, or they did not get top four, and they talk about this one incident which has somehow defined their season. And I'm always like, you know what? These things that go in your favor probably will probably go against you as well, or the things that go against you, well, you will get it back in the space of a season, or in the space of this qualifying tournament. And I believe this really is the case, because you could also argue that Uruguay should have had a red card against Ecuador, and then we might not have gone on to win the game, which is also 3 points we missed out on. So the thing is, I would not ever point to this game against Paraguay and say, okay, this is the reason we have not qualified if we don't qualify, because I think that's too cheap. Because you have 18 games to propose yourself as a good team, as a team that want to win games, score goals, and want to qualify for the World Cup. And if you point to one incident of the defining factor of not making it, yeah, I'd like to have these kind of conversations. But I understand what you're saying, because it was bullshit basically. So yeah. Hey bro, can I ask you about Uruguayan players to the Premier League? I know they have Italian and Spanish roots, and they will prefer Serie A and or La Liga. But have? What would you have changed for talented Uruguayans? Okay, so you're talking about, you know what, the thing, yeah, like you say, the roots of Italian and Spanish. It's easier to go to these countries, and also because the lifestyle, the culture is um, not the same, but it's more closer to Uruguay than England for sure. And the weather is also honestly something that Uruguayans, of what I've heard, don't like. The interesting thing is that I read an article or interview of Gus Poyet, the Chelsea and Tottenham Hotspur player, Uruguay legend, and he was talking about this as well. And he was talking that every time when he saw a Uruguayan doing well in Europe or in South America, that he really wants them to see go to the Premier League, because in his opinion, and I mean you can argue with him, but there are also a lot of people who agree. In his opinion, Premier League is the best league in the world. It is in terms of football, maybe. It is certainly in terms of exposure and of money. And that should never be your only incentive for a footballer. But it's the league that has all the tools. And I think in the coming years, we will see more Uruguayan players moving to the Premier League again. But you also have to remember that Uruguay, although we have created crazy good talents and fantastic talents, Uruguay have mostly in one generation 5 or 10 top players, maybe, or maybe even less. So it's not like there are a lot of players on this top level that can be there. And now in the upcoming generation, Uruguay have way more volume in terms of how many talents they have. How the quantity of top talents is more than it's ever been, in my opinion, of my lifetime at least. So maybe we will see this more and more. But I think historically, and it has been the case that Italy and Spain has been the country they would like to play in, and it will not change a lot. I think surely there will be players that will be tempted by the exposure, the quality of the Premier League, because it's getting better and better, and the money is there as well. The gap between Italy, Spain, France, Germany, and then to England in terms of exposure and money is getting bigger. Yeah. Okay, let me have a look at another comment. Um, okay, what would you like to see? Oh, this is as well same question. Yeah, I assess what would you like to have changed for the talented Uruguayans like Alvarez and Nunez to move to the Premier League. Well, I mean, it's up to themselves, obviously. Um, it's up to themselves. One thing, and I obviously cannot prove this or whatever, but one thing I would believe that that is a reason for Uruguayans maybe not going to Uruguay or to the Premier League in the last few years is the handling and the way Suarez was treated by the English media in his years there. And I did not like it one bit as well. I think many people did not like this in Uruguay. I know nobody liked this. So I think maybe this is a factor for Uruguayans that in the last few years, not a lot of players went to England. Well, there might be a chance for it because there are always clubs looking at Uruguayans or at players who are talented in South America, and there are a lot of Uruguayans who have a bright future. So maybe this is a factor. I cannot prove this obviously, but it's just my feeling. Portugal and Italy going to playoffs. Yeah, they are. Aroma Linda says this. I hope they both will be at the World Cup. Because I think Portugal and Italy, there's are teams, there's are nations, they have to be in the World Cup. These are just historic nations, but yeah, they have to earn it, obviously, like we have as well. It's not. I mean, it has to be the case, and this is why. And I mean, there's no point in talking about it in great detail now, but it is also a fact why the Super League was always something I really despised because it was basically a few clubs, elite clubs, being guaranteed a spot in this league, which no team, no country, or no player should be guaranteed a certain spot because of their status. They have to prove it. It's all about meritocracy. I think it's called meritocracy. So I probably did not pronounce it right, but you have to prove it. You have to perform every year, every week, and then you earn it. Then you deserve it. Okay, let me have a look. If CONCACAF and CONMEBOL merged in the future, travel would be crazy. If Uruguay plays Canada away, they would have to travel 9,000 kilometers. Yeah, and that's also a thing why they probably will not ever do it because that is just not. I mean, we are already talking now about the travel, about the complaints from Europe, about from the clubs for the travel and for the amount of games they have to play in 1 week. So imagine Uruguay having to travel to Canada for a game on a Wednesday, and then they have to be back playing in the players have to be back playing in Europe on Saturday. So FIFA or CONMEBOL or the clubs will never allow the Liga or the EPL. He only didn't because LAFC wanted 20 million during pandemic. Yeah, I mean pandemic. I mean for everybody it was the worst timing because it just and a lot of people suffer from it, whether it be due to the virus or due to the effects the virus has on businesses. But the thing, it was very unlucky for Diego Rossi because he was the Golden Boot winner in the MLS, and then it was in the middle of the pandemic. And LAFC obviously they wanted to recoup their money. I think they paid something like 4 million for Diego Rossi, and he was the star in the MLS. So yeah, for sure they want the big paycheck, obviously. But no club in Europe was gonna pay 20 million for a player who has been doing really well in MLS. But MLS is MLS, it's not like the top level. So that's really tough for him. But he's now at Fenerbahce, so maybe he can make this step from Fenerbahce to a top league one day because he's a good player, really good player. Marmo thanks says I saw some Nunez to Brighton rumors actually. Yeah, I did as well. Was like last transfer window. But the thing is, Nunez now scoring against Barcelona, scoring against Bayern Munich, and developing really well. His next move certainly will not be to Brighton. Will be to a top club in Europe. It will be Benfica and afterwards a top club. And Brighton, the rumors came because Darwin didn't have a great season his first season. It was okay, but he still had to adapt a lot. And then Benfica bought Yaremchuk, the striker from Ukraine. And also they they had a lot of financial losses in the pandemic. So the rumors came basically because, well, if Darwin can be sold for 40 million, we will make back 15 million because Benfica bought Darwin for 25 million. So it's a 50 million win. Okay, this player might be a great player one day, but at the moment we have to look at the financial reality of our club. So this is why these talks, these rumors came that it could be a possibility. But if you purely look on the player Darwin is, the quality he has and the potential he has to even get better, then obviously the next step for Darwin from Benfica is a top club in England or in Spain, and not to Brighton. With all due respect to Brighton, because they've done really well this season in the Premier League. Okay. Aroma Linna says Arambari was close to Manchester. Yeah, I mean, I never bought these rumors. I also read them and also reported on them, because there were some sources saying this, and they were not totally crap sources. They were not great, but they were not like Don Balon, the source in Spain. So, so it was rumors, but it was nothing more than this. I think it was just basically a agency, a footballing agency, which represents because Arambari is a really good player, but his next step from Getafe cannot be to Manchester United. Should be to a club like Villarreal, Valencia, maybe in England, maybe West Ham United, something like this. Yeah, but I think he should get this move because you always have to think. You always have to get the right moment to move and to step up and to keep your development going. And I think Arambari's moment to move was certainly last transfer window. So hopefully it can be in January or otherwise in next transfer window in the next summer transfer window, the European summer. So because then he can keep progressing. He cannot progress anymore in Getafe. Getafe is a good club, but it's like a lower league mid-table club in Spain. And if he wants to progress to another level, he has to also move to a bigger club. So yeah, okay. Let me have a look. So for everybody who's watching, thank you for being here and thanks for sending in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel if you want and if you're new here. And if you can, please like the video. Helps me a lot to get the YouTube more visible, the YouTube channel. Then Danny F says, what happened with the Matias Areso rumors about him going to Europe? Well, I mean, there are still clubs looking at him. Obviously, I think at the moment he's not in his greatest form, but he's 18 years old. He's been playing since he was 16, so these things will happen. But he will go to Europe. There's no question about it. He's a talented player, really talented player. And he will go there sooner rather than later. But he's 18 years old. 8 years old, so there's no rush, And to be honest, I prefer him to stay even another year or 2 years in Uruguay because it's sometimes not good to go abroad so early. You can see it with Nicolas Pacase. Was a talented boy, talented player for Uruguay under 20. Then he moved to Atletico, the youth academy, when he was 17 or 18 years of age. And it's never happened for him, never really clicked. And he's now back in Peñarol. He's injured, but he played for Parma, he played for Famalicão in Portugal, and it's never clicked. So maybe sometimes it's better to wait a little bit, and then when the moment is right, to move to Europe and to come there as a more mature player. So you have better chance to make it work. Okay. Tertuliano Afonso, good to see you here again as well, because I remember the name from last time. I predicted a good Uruguay performance last game, which it was. Yeah, was positive, better. Yeah, I agree. I also predicted the win. He says, gotta get it done today. That is almost a make or break game, and I'm predicting anything. No, it's best not to predict because at this moment, when you want to be positive, when you want to be optimistic, Uruguay will bite you in the ass basically because they do not really do positive things right now. They are just losing games. That's the way it is, and hopefully today will be different because, like you say, it's make or break. I mean, obviously, when you lose today, you can still qualify for the World Cup, but you have to turn a corner somewhere. You cannot keep drifting and away from the qualification because, I mean, we cannot miss out on a World Cup. It would just be a failure, a huge failure. Um, okay, this is interesting because Premier League and Brazilian clubs have become close in recent years. The best Brazilians are now playing in the Premier League, not in La Liga or Serie A. Yeah, that's true. This is IS again. That is, yeah, you were right. I mean, but it's also the shift. It's basically the shift of football at the moment because normally Barcelona and Real Madrid, they were the every player wanted to play there, and it's still probably the case. But Barcelona and Real Madrid, they are having a little bit of difficulties. So naturally, the players will go where the power is in terms of footballing power, financial power. So this is why a lot of players, top players, are going to the Premier League. And Brazilians, certainly, Coutinho was a player who went there a few years back. He's now obviously at Barca, and since then, or not since then, but after him, a lot more followed. Before him, there also were great players, but not the big stars like you say, like Ronaldinho, like Kaká. They didn't play in the Premier League. So now many of the top players of Brazilian football are playing in the Premier League, and to be honest, I would like a good for Uruguay's perspective. I love them playing in La Liga. I love them playing in Serie A, France, Germany, especially. But to be honest, La Liga, Serie A are my favorite two leagues to follow in world football. But I would also love to see players in the Premier League because purely because it's the league with the most exposure. So it's the best for them as well. Might not always be that, but it can be a really good thing for them. And the best clubs in Europe at the moment, Chelsea, City, the Champions League finalists, Liverpool, one of the best teams in the world. They are in the Premier League with the best managers as well, because that's really important. Guardiola, Tuchel, Klopp, these three managers. When you make a list of the best managers in the world, they are on this list for sure. So that's also really interesting for players to go to the Premier League because, I mean, it's great to play for a fantastic club in a fantastic league, but it's also really good to have a manager that is good, that is competent, and that can help you win trophies, win games, but also develop you as a player. So yeah, okay, okay. I'm gonna move it on a little bit to other comments. Why isn't Diaz Guetta moved to Europe? He's like 27. Um, you know what? When Diaz Guetta played for Cruzeiro, he was talking about yeah, I certainly want to move to Europe one day. It's my dream. It's the dream of every footballer. I remember it because the Asqueta has always been one of my favorite players. But then he went to Flamengo in 2019, which was a bit of a shock because we all thought his next move certainly will be Europe. I mean, it has to be. But then Flamengo broke the Brazilian transfer record to sign him. It was like, I think it's like 40 million euros, I think. So there was a bit of a shock. And since then, I mean, Flamengo started to win everything in this season. They are in the Copa Libertadores final this year as well. So the dream of Europe was probably, and he said it himself, dream of Europe was not as big as livid or as vivid anymore. And he is really comfortable in Brazil, in Rio for Flamengo. He's probably at home, and you know what? Not everybody has to go to Europe. I mean, obviously, Darasqueta, a player of his quality, I think he would succeed in Europe 100%. But he is at home at Flamengo, a big, huge club in Brazil, in the world as well, and playing in one of the best, most beautiful cities in the world, one of the best, most beautiful stadiums in the world. I mean, there's also a lot to say for him staying there and become a legend of the club. I mean, this is also great to see. So yeah. Aroma Lena says I don't have good feelings for today. No, I think we all have a little bit of fear because we know what Uruguay have been lately. Yeah. Okay. Um, Rodrigo Silva says here, and Europe is everybody's dream, but being a star at Flamengo is really heavy and enjoyable. Yeah, I mean for sure, that is the thing. Obviously, Europe is. I mean, to to a certain extent, I think it's a shame that this is the case because like 30, 40 years back, um, big teams in South America they beat big teams in Europe when it came to the Intercontinental Cup, which is now the FIFA Club World Cup, because these clubs had stars from Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina. Colombia, Ecuador. These stars of this nation, they played in their country most of the time, or some were already moving, but a lot of the stars were playing in South America. So the South American football was really strong, really strong. But now, because well, the way the world has gone, um, Europe is where the footballing powerhouses are and the footballing money is, most of it. So yeah, you always have Europe as the well, the center of attention when it comes to football. So South America, as a consequence, has become a lot inferior. But so this is what I think is a shame, because when you look at the clubs like Flamengo, like Peñarol, like Nacional, like River Plate, like Boca Juniors, but also a lot more clubs in Brazil, but also in countries like Ecuador, um, in Colombia. These clubs have huge fan bases, beautiful stadiums, beautiful histories, and sometimes they have players play for them who, when you look through the history, it just does not compare anymore. And then I think it's beautiful to see a player like Jordan Arasqueta, who just can probably go to Europe, but who is a star, was becoming a star, is now a star in Brazil for Flamengo in a historically big club. So I'm not really sure what I want to go with the story right now, but I just think it's beautiful that he will stay there, because he will. I mean, he's 27. I don't think he will go in the near future. So yeah, he builds his legacy over there. And you know what? For him to look back at his career, what would you have better is to be a star and an icon and an idol for Flamengo, in a huge fan base, one of the biggest fan bases in the world, in a beautiful stadium, or be one of the many stars that maybe a club like Sevilla has, because he could play for Sevilla, I have no doubt. So what is better, to have a good period there, score some goals, maybe win some trophies, and be also an idol for his team, but one of the many stars, one of many. While it might be better to be an absolute idol, a star, somebody who cannot go over the streets in Rio for a huge club like Flamengo. I think this is maybe better when you look back at your career. So yeah, and I think he thinks this as well, because he stays at Flamengo. Yeah. Okay. Yes, gonna do some more comments, and then I'm going to get off because I have to eat something and then prepare for the game. But for all you here, thank you for being here. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video if you want. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, okay. Danny F says Darasqueta is kind of like Zico. He was comfortable in Flamengo and didn't need to leave. And I think the next Uruguayans to the top league is Diego Rossi, Nicolas de la Cruz, and Fernando Gorarian. Um, yeah, I mean, I understand what you mean, but we have to remember Zico was playing for Flamengo in a completely different time. Obviously, when South American football was much stronger, and Zico was one of the best Brazilian footballers, or one of the best footballers in history. But I understand what you're saying, is that it's this. Darasqueta probably feels that Flamengo or Rio de Janeiro is his city, Flamengo is his club, he is at home, so he will not probably move. And the next point you make, the Uruguayans you think are the next to move to a top league. You said Diego Rossi could certainly be the case. He has to do well in Fenerbahce, and then he can move. Nicolas de la Cruz, I think. I mean, the problem is with Nico that he's been picking up a lot of injuries in the last few months. But if he's fit and he's just on form, he would be an addition to many teams in Europe. And Fernando Guararian, he's already been in Europe. I think he played in Hungary a few years back. But yeah, he certainly has the qualities to make it to Europe again. And I also remember Guillermo Amada, which is the manager, Uruguay manager of Guararian's team, Santos Laguna. And he told the media that a few Serie A clubs, Italian clubs, were already looking at Guararian. And possibly he can go back to Europe. And I think he would do well. Um, okay. Given Brexit, Premier League scouts say South America is the target right now. I'm a big fan of the Premier League and South America, and I miss Uruguayans here. As yeah, I mean, I understand you, and you've made a few comments, and you make some really good comments and some good points, and I understand that it would be nicer to see. And Poyet, Suarez, you name them as two players who were really successful in England, and Cavani, who's now there and who's making a great impression. So let's hope. The new generation is coming to England, or a few of the new generation. It would be nice to see. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think let me look. Rodrigo Silva says it's okay not to start Suarez today. I would even start Pereiro and Damian. I mean, Pereiro, I don't understand why Pereiro is there, to be honest. He's played less than 100 minutes for Cagliari this season, a team that is fighting against relegation in Italy. I don't understand why he's there. He's there, you know. Call up David Terence for Atletico de Paranense. Um, but Pereiro, I would not play him because I simply don't want him in the squad because he's. You should play and do well for your team. Then you should come in contention for Uruguay. And Damian, yeah, I would play him 100% over Cáceres, but we have been there before. Um, okay, the last comment I will take because I really have to sort some things out and eat something before I'm gonna watch the game. Danny F says, "Who was more disappointing, Lodero, Gaston Ramirez, or Gaston Pereiro?" Uh, I struggle with this one. You know what, Gaston Pereiro? When you look at the goal-to-game ratio, he's done okay because he scored against Ecuador. I remember him scoring against Mexico. He scored, I think, against Poland a few years back. Um, but I think all have been a little bit of a disappointment. And certainly Lodero and Gaston Ramirez, they were the number 10s that had so many opportunities throughout so many years, but they never really took it. Um, but you know what? You can look at them and say, okay, they have not done well. But when you look at the recent history in Uruguay, the last 15 years, can you name me one number 10, one attacking midfielder who has done really well, one creative midfielder? And I don't really. Okay, Darasqueta has done okay in the last few games, last year, done well, but he's not impressed a lot. But I don't think it's down to him. I think Uruguay playing away, which basically it limits the creative players of the team, the creative midfielders, the number 10s, too much. And then you get these players that, well, they want the ball at their feet, they want to create chances for their teammates. They're just not at home in this team because this team is so pragmatic and so defensive and reactive at times, and that is the problem. And this problem um, will only be how do you say the solution will only come when a new manager comes in. Um, but okay, that's another topic. Um, okay, I'm gonna call it a day for now. The game will be on. It's 1 hour and 10 minutes. Then huge game. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it, but also fearing it a little bit because it's a big game, a tough game away in La Paz, and Uruguay need the result basically. Like someone already said in the chat, it's make or break. Okay, Uruguay can still qualify if we lose today, but really, if we lose today, once again, 4 defeats in a row, where does it leave us? You know, where's our confidence? Where is where's anything? I mean, how can you build on 4 defeats? It's really hard. So it's really important to get a result today, and I'm hopeful. So thanks for all for being here. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video if you want, and I will be back here after the game to talk about the game, and hopefully we can celebrate the win. Okay, so let's hope we all can enjoy the game. I hope you enjoy the game, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye bye.